Hello. Today we're going to talk about loading software on the plockmatic booklet maker. My name is Jerry Cavalier, and we're going to take a look at how do we load software, what tools do we need to load the software, and also what procedures do we need to follow. When we're loading software, there's basically several reasons. One is you're replacing a circuit board. The circuit board that you ordered does not have software on it. You'll have to load the appropriate software on the circuit board. Number two is you need to reload software on an existing circuit board because you're looking at behavior in the machine that isn't in specifications. So you're going to go ahead and reload software. The third reason is that a new level of software has been available by engineering, and you want to put the latest fixes and patches on the machine to correct existing problems that might be there. So the first thing that you want to do before you even begin is to use what we call your ESD protection. For the use of this video and clarity, we're not going to use the ESD protection, but it is in the general procedure section. It's actually GP20. If you follow that procedure, it'll explain to you how to hook up your ESD wiring. The second thing that we want to do first, before we even load the software, is we want to take a look at what tools are you going to need. In this particular case for software, it's cables. You need to have the right cables in order to install the software. The download cable here, which is a 770010, this comes with every machine. It's located in the back or the rear of the booklet maker. There are two other cables that you can order. Okay, one is a USB to an RS-232 cable, and it also needs this connector cable, which is a D-sub to a 9D-sub pin. And I'm going to explain to you the reasons why we need both cables. On the latest machines that we have out in the field today, you can hook up your laptop USB to a D-sub 9 cable, and there is a connector in the machine that it connects directly to. What this does is for the controller board, you do not have to remove the front cover in order to load the CPU or the controller board. There's an alternative method that you can use. You can use the 7710 that will hook up directly from your laptop to the circuit board using a 4 to 2 pin connection. And that's the one we're going to use today. Okay, we are now ready to load software. The first thing that we'd like to do is make sure that the machine is turned off by turning off the power switch. We also do not want to have any interlock cheaters enabling the 24 volts on the system. So the interlock cheater must be removed. The controller board or the CPU board is located behind the front panel. You want to remove the front panel. As I explained before, there are different configurations for the cabling. I'm choosing to use the cable that goes directly from a USB in the back of my laptop to the 4 and 2 pin connector that we talked about before. We're going to locate the controller CPU board, which is this board here. Here is the convenience outlet, the wiring from the convenience outlet plug that actually goes to the 4 and 2 pin. We remove the 4 and 2 pin, and we're going to connect it with our cabling. It is now connected. We are then going to go ahead and turn the power on using the power switch. Interlock cheater is out. We do not want 24 volts being applied to any motor or boards while we're actually doing the software reinstallation. One other point. we talked about the 4 and 2 cable here for the CPU board. On the motor driver boards, which there are 3, upper, middle, and lower, if you look, there are 4 and 2 pin connectors on these also that we use to load software. On those particular models, you have to use the 4 and 2 pin connectors. That's the only way you could load software. These boards, when they're delivered brand new out of the box, have no software on them. We don't know what position they're going to be in. You have to go to your documentation and load the appropriate software for each board. Each board is exactly the same part number. You can interchange the boards within each location, but the appropriate software has to be loaded on the particular board that you're replacing, upper, middle, and lower, and that's all described in your documentation. So we have the machine on. We go to the software installation, and on this particular machine, the latest machine, the software level for both the booklet maker and the CT or the RCT are exactly the same. In this particular case, the latest version of software for the booklet maker is 1.2, which is the controller software, and also for the CT or the RCT module, it's also 1.2. Older models will have different versions of software. The booklet maker and the creaser trimmer will be at different versions. For the newer model, they're both the same level of software. So now we go to our program. You'll double click and run the executable for the booklet maker. It's BM50 CPU 1.0 or equivalent. You'll double click on that. It will say run. You hit the run button, and the rest, the executable, will load the software. We've completed the software upgrade. You'll notice on the screen it says software downloaded successful. That means the old software has been removed and the new latest version of software has been installed on the booklet maker. With the machine turned off, we're now going to remove the 4 and 2 pin connector from the controller board. Here's the 4 and 2 pin on the controller board. We're going to remove those pins. And then these are the 2 pins from the convenience connector on the inside of the booklet maker, which we removed. You can put them back on, and you can load the CPU board again from the convenience connector. We're now going to turn the booklet maker back on. We're going to have the cheater installed in the top cover. We're going to turn the machine on, and you're going to hold 2 fingers on the UI screen. That will give you access to 3 icons. One is you can enter the service mode. You can also use the touchscreen calibration, or you can do GP22, which is the NVM reset, which is the one we always do after we do a software installation or reinstallation. You'll select that. It then says, do you really want to reset the NVMs? Before doing so, you want to write down the NVM values 2 to 7 and 11. We've already done that, and we've actually put them on the card. This card comes with every machine. If you notice, they've already been set by the factory settings. These were the exact settings that we pulled before we went ahead and did this procedure. We verified that they are correct. Once we do an NVM reset, these values will now change. You'll write those values down in the second column called field adjusted. So in case you need to reinstall them at a later time, you have a record of them for the booklet maker. You're then going to go ahead and press the OK button. And now the NVMs have been reset, and you'll go to what we call touchscreen calibration. There are X and Y coordinates on this UI. The accuracy comes in is how close you can get into the crosshairs, that when the customer touches a specific icon, he doesn't have to touch it directly in the middle, but on the corners, and it will still react correctly. That's all done by the touchscreen calibration. We are now at the entering service mode, which is the last piece of installing the software. We've completed the software download. We've done an NVM reset, and now we've entered service mode. All of the factory default settings have been now re-enabled, and we have to change that based on the configuration of the plockmatic booklet maker to the printer. So we've entered the service mode. We're going to scroll down to booklet maker 50, and we're going to hit enter. And now you're going to see all the options that we have. And we're going to go through the majority of them that have changed since we've done an install of the software. And the first one that we want to look at is the actual printer that it's attached to. In this particular case, it is a Nuvera, but it also has other products that are listed there. We're going to leave it selected at Nuvera, but it could change if you had if you were connected to a different printer. We say OK, and we'll scroll back down, and we're going to come to process mode. Process mode should always be productivity. If you go ahead and you change that to booklet quality, that is incorrect. It should always be productivity mode. Say OK. And then we're going to scroll down. Fold delay. Fold delay is that the booklet will remain in the fold rolls for 30 seconds or less while the subsequent book is being collated. This will give it a tighter fit on the fold if the customer is looking for the books to lay extremely flat. We'll leave fold delay on. Is there a cover feeder installed? In this particular machine, the answer is yes, so we want to change that. We want to select, change it to yes, and say OK, and select OK. We'll then scroll down to the interfeeder, as the bypass mode is correct. Not on this machine. In this machine, there is actually, I should say, a deburster installed. We're going to select OK for the deburster, and then we're going to move down. And I think we are now completed on all of the defaults. We've actually changed them to what this machine, the configuration should be for this machine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to follow the directions on the UI screen for paper size reset. We're going to select Start. And if you notice, the side guides are actually adjusting for an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Once they're in position for an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, we're now going to register where the actual middle of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper is, or where the fold should be, and where the staple will actually reside. Now, for clarity, I'm going to remove the staple assembly. In the field, while you're doing this adjustment, you do not have to remove the cartridge, but in order to see exactly where the tool is going to be placed in the clincher, we try to do that for clarity. If you look on the UI screen, you'll see the orientation of the tool. You can see where the cutout is, but what's more important is you can see where the hole is. That gives you the direction, the paper path direction with the arrow. So the tool will fit exactly like this in the machine. So I'm now going to go ahead and place the tool in the machine, and the tab has to be exactly in the clincher. I'm going to push that down in the clincher. And it's in there. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to select OK. And watch, it's going to adjust. Now it's just registered for the middle of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It'll use an algorithm for the other lens, such as 9 by 12, 11 by 17, or 12 by 18. It's now looking on the UI screen, and it says adjust the back joggers. So we've already completed the first step. We're going to say to adjust the back joggers. You select OK. And now we're looking at the back joggers that have already been adjusted. Okay, so we've completed the setup for the back joggers. We've looked at them and we noticed that they are in spec. The tool is just touching the square detent on the back jogger. But if they weren't in spec, they were either too far away from the tool or they were too close to the tool, there is a way to adjust that. You do that by moving a 7mm screw that's inside of the machine. It's located right here. That screw is connected to the shaft which adjusts the back joggers. You'll have to separate the machine either from the RCT or from the printer, and then you'd be able to turn that adjusting screw so that the back joggers are in spec. Since ours are in spec, we don't need to separate the machine or do the adjustment. Looking at the UI now, we're going to continue with the process since we adjusted the back joggers. Ours didn't need to be adjusted. We select OK. And what it's going to ask you to do now is to remove the tool. It's moved the M1 motor away. You remove the tool. You select OK. And now it's going to ask you to write down the NVM values. Again, since this has been field adjusted, you're going to be looking at numbers 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 as the NVM values. You'll then put them here as field adjusted in the corresponding column and rows based on the new values that you've just identified. That completes the software reload.